Let's get to the sub-national level. Enugu State, Dr. Peter Mbah, of course, the governor, has presented a record 1.6 trillion naira 2026 budget. That's about 64% larger than the 997 billion that was presented in 2025. And it's all about growth, it's all about scale, and it's all about also getting Enugu to an estimated $30 billion GDP from where they are now, which is an estimated $4 billion. We've got Dr. Nathaniel Uramah, who's the Commissioner for Finance and Economic Development in Enugu State with us, and we're very happy to have him joining us live from Enugu itself to discuss this budget with us. Dr. Uramah, thank you so much for being with us. And I guess I wanted to start with how this is a very growth-oriented budget that you've got here. The 64% going from 997 billion in 2025 to 1.6 trillion. And even out of the 1.6 trillion, I mean, almost the entire thing is focused on capital expenditure. But the GDP targets, 30 billion, I mean, that's pretty ambitious. How does this budget get you on that path to getting to the 30 billion someday?
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, just as you said, the budgets, Enugu State budgets 2026 is actually oriented to achieve the growth of Enugu State, as promised by His Excellency Barrister Dr. Peter Mbah, to move Enugu State from the GDP of $4.4 billion to $30 billion in 2031. So both the GDP, I mean the budget of last year and that of this year were all targeted towards achieving the promise of moving Enugu State from that $4.4 billion GDP to $30 billion GDP. Now, just as you said, if you look at the budget, you see that by last year, the capital expenditure on the budget was almost 85% of that budget, whereas the recurrent was 15%. Now, the reason for that is because we are at the stage of investing to ensure that Enugu State has the best business environment in the country, not only in the country, but even across the country. So the same thing that is happening on this 2026 budget, where we're having 80% of the budget for capital expenditure and only the 20% for recurrent expenditure. So what we are doing is to ensure that the cost of the recurrent expenditure is reduced, whereas the capital expenditure is improved. That capital expenditure cuts across all the sectors, including agriculture, including transportation, including sports, including every other sector in Nigeria, where we do invest in our budget so that at the end, we're going to see a revenue that is going to be coming up into the country. So that is why we are investing more in the capital expenditure than the recurrent expenditure in our budget, both last year and this current year. Because His Excellency, Barrister Dr. Peter Mbah, wants to achieve his promise of moving the Nigerians' Enugu State's GDP from $4.4 billion to $30 billion. And we know that we have to invest in different sectors for us to be able to achieve that.
Right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. So again, you've maintained that threshold because yes, 1.3 trillion for capex, which is 81%. So how do people feel that growth, that investment in capital expenditure? What is an example? Is it more roads, more bridges? How do the indigents in Enugu feel it's this big capex expenditure that you have in the budget?
Okay, yes, that is a good question and it's very important. And when we stated this, people actually welcomed it. because there are so many things that will help the economic growth. Just as you mentioned about good road, the first thing His Excellency did was to ensure that there is a zero pothole in Enugu City. Now, there are so many other roads that are connecting Enugu State to other states, which His Excellency, Barrister Dr. Peter Ndubesimba, has embarked on. Even some of them that are federal roads that are connecting Enugu State to another state, he has embarked on ensuring that there is a very good road in Enugu State. Now, there are other things that that has been done. We talk of smart school because, you know, one of his this thing is that tomorrow is here. That tomorrow is here means that he's preparing not only to develop the matured people, but also building the younger ones to be able to match what the society needs globally. That is why you're hearing about the smart school, where His Excellency started building smart school in all the 26 wards, 260 wards in Enugu State. That was also followed by building a type 2 hospital in all the 260 wards in Enugu State. So by the end of this year, His Excellency intends to finish building 260 smart schools in all the 260 wards. Now, this is what we call investment to ensure that our tomorrow is here, where he is going to ensure that both the adults and young people in Enugu State are contributing positively to the growth of the states. Thank you so much.
All right, so on that point, human capital development, I think it's about 30% of CapEx, which I think is about 390 billion or so. So that's a heavy amount that is targeted towards human capital development. So, you know, explain how that money goes into to actually improve that. Are we talking about I guess it could be the smart schools, education and so on, skill development. Talk to us about how that allocation improves the human capital development in Enugu.
Okay, thank you so much. I will start from that aspect of smart school where we're trying to change the school in Enugu State from the normal primary school where children will go and cram textbooks. At the end, you see that they will come out without having any technical skill, without having any knowledge. And then you will see somebody who read maybe an engineer looking for work in the banking sector because they don't have the technical skill. That is what the smart school that is being built in Enugu State is looking to remove from Enugu. That is why we are going to have this. And going by that, you see that the already existing teachers in the primary school and secondary schools, if you listen to the budget of this year, we have used the budget of 2024, you know, we started 2024 and 2025 to build the smart schools for primary. The budget of this year is going towards that of secondary schools. Now, we know that it's not only building the school. If you build the school, no matter how fine the school is, and you don't have the capacity of the teachers improved so that they will be able to teach that smart education in the smart school, it will not work. That is why this 30% of the budget is allocated to building human capacity. So the first is that we're starting from ensuring that we have teachers, both for primary and secondary school, that are capable of teaching in that smart school. Then the subsequent one is that we know that the best way to ensure sustainable economic growth is to create employment, especially employment, self-employment. That is why, if you listen to His Excellency when he was presenting the budget, you saw that a lot of money is allocated to the SME sector of the economy, where currently, as I'm talking to you, thousands of youths are being trained to have skills in different sectors. Some are building, some are the building aspect of it, the proper actual training, not cramming textbooks. Then some are We bought a lot of sewing machines where you see people that will be taught how to sew clothes. Our intention is to ensure that by the year 2031, all the youths in Enugu State will be looking for who to employ and not who to employ them. That is why the SME sector in Enugu State is organizing training after training. People are graduating from that training, and once you graduate, you'll be mobilized to be an independent person, looking for who to employ and not looking for who to employ you. That is actually the sectors where that training is going to go to. Ensuring that we have teachers that have that capacity, because by the time we started this mass school,
All right, so we're just talking to Dr. Nathaniel Uramah, the Commissioner for Finance over in Enugu, and he was just talking about how they want to get to a point by 2030 where individuals in... Okay, I think we got him back. We got you back. We had a little bit of a connection hiccup there, Dr. Uramah. So do you want to finish up your points on... Dr. Uramah, do you want to finish up your point
Uramah, there? Not Umaira. Uramah.
Dr. Uramah, got you.
Yes, what I've said is that, yes. That's what I'm saying is that we know that for us to have a sustainable economic growth as we are planning, that we need to build the human capacity, starting from the smart school, starting from the youths that we're preparing to be independent. Our target is to have youths that are looking for who to employ and not youths that are looking for employment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one more question for you, Dr. Uramah. Enugu is depending less on FAC allocations. And can you talk to us before we go on how you are looking to generate your own revenue and depend on your own IGR, your own intelligence? Is it higher taxes, or I mean, what's the plan there? How are you planning to depend less on governments to fulfill your fiscal dreams?
Okay, thank you so much. You know, we are talking about sustainability of our economic growth. And when you're talking about sustainability of the growth, you should be careful about taxation. That's what we've been explaining to people. If you look at the details of the 2026 budgets, you see that there's a reduction in the percentage of revenue that is going to come from taxation. Because we know and we're aware that increasing the tax will reduce the ease of doing business in Enugu. And when you reduce the ease of doing business, there is no way you are going to get to a sustainable economic growth and development as we are planning. So with that respect, you see that a closer look at the 2026 budget shows you that we are depending less on taxation compared to other sources of revenue. What we did, even starting from last year, as we explained, is that there was no increase in tax rates in Enugu State. Rather, what we did was to close the loopholes where money that is supposed to enter government ends up with individuals. We closed that loopholes, and that was what made Enugu State to raise that amount of IGR that we got this 2025, which even other states, we have had close to 5 states that sent their people to Enugu State for us to teach them how we're able to arrive at that. So we didn't increase any taxation, but we closed the gap, the loopholes that are leading to leakages in the tax collection. We also try to expand the tax base. Expansion of the tax base is not increasing the tax for people who are already paying tax, but trying to ensure that those who are eligible for tax pays their tax, and that payment goes directly into the government purse. That is the plan we are having. And if you look at what Enugu State is heading to, by that last year, we were still sowing seeds where money is going to come out from. If you look at the budget critically, you see that most of that money we're going to get is going to come out not necessarily from taxation, but from other sources of income, because we have invested a lot. You know about the CNG buses that is already on the way. running for Enugu State. You know about the Enugu A that is already flying from different places, and more are coming on the way. You know about the smart city that we have already constructed. And the smart city is being built in such a way that at the end, given the infrastructure that are going to be there and the state of that infrastructure, you see that land there, which belongs to Enugu State, automatically will earn a lot of money to Enugu State. So as the Commissioner for Finance, I'm telling you here that there will be no increase in tax in Enugu for us to be able to generate the revenue that we are planning. What we are doing is to ensure efficiency in tax collection. That is why we have done all that we've done. Last year was a time of sowing. I'm believing that by this 2026, we should have started reaping on what we sowed last year, even giving autonomy for our Enugu State Board of Internal Revenue is an example of how we want things to do. Efficiency, 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 and transparency in tax collection. That is the brain behind how we're going to achieve what we are planning, and not increasing taxation. Because we want investors to troop into Enugu State. And with that, there is no way we'll increase taxation. Because if you increase it, people will move away from Enugu State to other nearby states or even to other nearby countries. But what we want is to attract investors from other nearby states into Enugu State. So being cautious of that, there's no increment in taxation, but there's going to be increase in IGR collection due to efficiency in the process of collection and expansion of the tax base. Thank you so much.
All right, ambitious stuff. Thank you for making that clear. So it's going to be about efficiency and transparency, closing loopholes. And look, we wish you all the best. We will follow up with Enugu's plans for growth, getting to $30 billion GDP with these ambitions. But Dr. Nathaniel Uramah, it's great that your name is right behind you there on an award you've received. So I can read it up there. The Commissioner for Finance, Economic Planning at Enugu State. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.